My special guest on the program this morning is Sandy Duncan. Good morning, Sandy. I started to say welcome to Dallas, but this is almost like coming home, isn't it? You've been here so many times.
That's right. It is coming home.
It is. Have you been to Tyler yet?
No, I'm not going to be able to.
You won't make it this trip?
No. I flew in for rehearsal on it was a Sunday. I close on a Saturday night. I have to leave Sunday and be in Vegas Monday.
And you came here from Tahoe?
From Tahoe, right.
Yeah. So it's just a stop.
Busy.
Idle hands are the devil's. No, what I was alluding to, and you may not know, although I think you know, that my wife and I were in Tyler for 4.5 years, and I've been in your home, and I met your parents, and I've driven by your father's service station a number of times, but for some reason, we never were able to get together schedule-wise. Even since we've been here, we've been trying to, and I'm glad we finally had the opportunity.
Well, I'm too.
So how goes it in your career?
Great. I've never been having a better time than I am now. We've been doing the act since July of last summer, and I just thoroughly enjoy it. I never would have thought I'd enjoy nightclubs this much, but I do. I like the control because I'm able to pick and choose the material myself for the first time. I don't just show up on a set and they hand me the script and I go, oh, this is terrible. They say, tough, you do it. You know, this way I can say, no, I don't like this, and I get something else. I like control. Who doesn't,
well,
right?
Sure. Why did you decide last July to do a night? Yeah.
I think it was sort of a disenchantment with television, for one thing.
Don't say that on a television show.
Well, I'm not.
No, I know what you mean.
I'm not really putting television down because eating crackers pays for my act, but
Those little wheat square ones, right?
Yeah, they sure do. There's a lot of value and power to television. The problem for actresses in television is that thing I just said, the lack of control. You really get terrible material to interpret, and you're held responsible for it somehow. People blame you. It's like, well, I saw so-and-so. It was just the worst show in the world, as if you sat down and wrote it and produced it, and, you know, my job is to act. So basically what I left television for was to get enough security that I could pick and choose what I wanted to do in TV, as opposed to just taking whatever came along. This way I had the luxury of being able to say no. I also missed an audience.
That's got to be a big difference.
Because I started in theater, and I've really missed that.
I know this is a tired old question, and I know you've told this story so many times, but because you are back home, and there are so many people who, I mean, really, you've done the ideal thing. I have an 18-year-old sister-in-law now who just went off to New York 2 months ago in search of fame and fortune, and a lot of people do that. Yeah. But since you did begin in Tyler and you came over here to the summer musicals, is that really how it started? I mean, that's...
Yeah. Sure is. I started here in Dallas when I was 12, and I used to come up every summer. It was like a summer job, and my mother would come up with me and stay part of the time. My grandmother would stay part of the time, and I'd dance in the chorus every summer until I was 18, same age as your sister-in-law. And then I decided, well, I'm going to seek my fame and fortune. I moved to New York after I only went to college a year. I went to Lon Morris in Jacksonville, and I had a job lined up in New York at New York City Center through the musicals because a director had come down and seen me and so forth. So I didn't go without at least some prospect of work.
Were you working primarily as a dancer?
A dancer, primarily. I would do like little parts in musicals, like the ingenue or something. So I never, once I moved to New York, I never worked in the chorus there. I always did parts, you know, from the beginning, which was lucky, you know.
But did you ever really struggle? I mean, you had it, and it wasn't luck, no doubt, played a part in it.
I think my struggle has come in the past, I'd say 5 or 6 years. The initial thing of making, well, you say struggle. I mean, I wasn't rich by any, but my parents were very supportive, and I worked steadily. I always was able to do like industrial shows, or I would do off-Broadway, or I'd go, so I worked rather steadily. I never worried about where my next meal was coming from, you know. But for the past, I guess it's been, as I said, 5, 6 years, the struggle has been to, once you arrive at a certain point in your career and you make it,
people expect more.
They expect more, plus you get locked into sort of an image or an identity that is a little confining to you. You're not allowed to experiment and try other things, again, because television time is money, and they say, who can play this part? These 6 ladies, all right, get that one. They don't really experiment too much, which locks you into a...
Back to that, the circumstances where you would find yourself doing something on television that you might not wish to do, would that be under an instance where you were under contract for so many specials or something, and then you had to take what came to you?
That, or just the mere fact that I'm always amazed, like reviewers or critics or so forth, when they're talking about people in show business, like, you know, no matter what level you're on, they'll say, I can't understand why Barbra Streisand would do that part. They forget, these people, you have to work and feed yourself just like everybody else. It's like people just, in show business, should just sit around until something wonderful comes along, they're going to get nominated for an Academy Award. You know, you do have to work.
They remember those, that's all.
Yeah, right. So you have to do bad things and you have to do good things. You just, you know, we all have gas to buy, don't we? Don't we?
Boy. You may have to pick up a couple more engagements. We may all have to pick up a couple more.
I have to do a few things I don't want to do to pay for my gas.
What have you done? And I don't want to put you on the spot because I don't know of anything that you've done that was bad, but what have you looked back and said, gee, I wish I'd been in a better position? We all know what your good things have been.
Yeah, I think, and I'm being as honest as I can be, because I really don't, I like maybe 3 or 4 things that I've done on television in 6 years. I liked Roots. I liked,
that was so good.
I liked a thing I did on a Richard Rogers special, a big dance thing, 10 cents a dance, a pas de deux thing. Maybe there are only 2 things I've liked. Goodness. I really, by and large, do not care for, you know, most of the stuff that I've done in TV. The opposite being true of the theater things I did. I loved most of those, and I've enjoyed the nightclub act. I think I'm best in live entertainment. Some people are, you know, some people are better.
Relate to an audience.
That's right.
You mentioned a while ago your parents and the support, that they were supportive. They had no hesitation about their teenage daughter going off to New York City?
Well, they had obvious hesitations about my physical safety or about my being disappointed or hurt by people or so. But I must say they knew from very early on that I was going to do it, and they might as well, you know, help me as opposed to hindering me. So they did that.
Did you set out, I mean, what did you want to do when you went to New York?
What I did, basically, yeah. I wanted to do Broadway, and I did that for 6 years, and then I got sidetracked when somebody came to New York to see the boyfriend I was in at the time, and that's when I moved out to California and started doing something I never intended to do. I never thought of myself doing television or film. I thought, God, my teeth are bucked, and I'm just not a, film type. So that was a real detour in my career.
What was your first commercial? How did that come about?
I think the first one I ever did was like a Noxzema skin thing. Just auditions. In New York, you can feel like you're working when you're not, because you'll have like 10 calls a day, and you're very busy, and it's. I think that was the first one. I did a skinny dip, a cologne thing. I did a lot of commercials in the beginning.
Those carry people through a lot of times.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing a commercial now.
Not at all.
Who was the director at the summer musicals when you were there? Was it Charles Meeker? Was he?
Initially.
Did you ever work with him?
One summer, yeah. The first summer I was there, when I was 12. And then the next time I came back, Tom Hughes had taken over.
I asked that, and this is of no consequence, except that I worked for Charles Meeker at Six Flags a number of years ago, and then in another capacity when he was heading up the Miss Teenage America pageant. And so I knew him well, and I was trying to think back when you were there, if you might have worked with him.
In fact, I'm coming back this summer. Did you read that? Did you? Because I don't know if they've announced it here a lot or anything. But
yeah, it's been announced. You're doing Peter Pan?
Yeah. We're going to start the production here and mount it here. And it's being mounted for Broadway. We're going to tour all summer and open in New York, I think, around September 8th or something like that.
Okay. We'll look forward. I want to take a break here, and then we'll be right back to continue our discussion with Sandy Duncan. Please stay with us. I feel like I should offer you a room or something. We were talking during the break. I asked where you are living now, and it's wherever you happen to be, huh?
That's why they call people in show business gypsies. I mean, it really is. Yeah, I don't have a permanent place right now because I've been on the road most of this year, and I've got to get all my stuff somehow from L.A. it's in storage there, to New York, but I don't have time to go into New York to find a place to live. But it's exciting.
Never know where your next address is going to be. Did you ever get into, or have you, I mean, you're a big star, have you gotten into the Hollywood scene at all?
I don't know if, no.
Whatever that means.
Whatever.
I mean,
it did mean something. You're not wrong to ask, because there was such a thing. Today, I don't think so. I find that the younger people in Hollywood are of a different kind of mentality than they used to be, because they're not quite so taken care of. In other words, you used to be under contract, and you could just sort of take it easy when you weren't working because you were guaranteed work. Now, you really are an independent contractor, and you have to be a little more serious and businesslike about your whole life.
Why do you think that's changed?
Money. Most things change because of economics, you know. Somebody told me a story about 13 years ago, coming out to do a third role in like a Gunsmoke, a friend of mine, and he was paid $2,500 for the episode. Today, top of the show money for a dramatic episode for the lead is like $750.
It's gone down?
Yeah, it's gone down. It's one of the few, and it's supply and demand. TV just keeps churning out stars. Every 13 weeks, somebody comes on the air, and it's suddenly a new star. Now, you may never hear of him after 13 weeks, but it's supply and demand. They say, well, if we can't get her, we'll get her, you know.
And there are more and more people coming out there all the time.
Absolutely.
What's the toughest thing you've ever done, that you've ever undertaken as a project?
I think this has been the nightclub thing, largely because I had to be the producer and put up the money, which is a lot of money up front for charts and all that stuff. It's in the six-figure area, and with no promise of getting it back.
Why did you have to do that? I mean, why didn't somebody come along? I would have thought somebody would say...
No, it's your show, it's your risk. So you create the thing and then see if you can sell it beyond one night, too. I mean, you could go into Vegas and they could go, that was real nice. We don't think we'll have you back, Miss Duncan. So there you are with this $100,000 turkey. It's a little scary.
Yeah. Joan Rivers was here last year or year before, whenever it was, promoting her movie Rabbit Test, wasn't it? And she mortgaged her house?
That's right.
Took a mortgage on that?
You have to believe in yourself, I suppose, is the bottom line to it, or get out, you know, and do something else. But it's been scary because it's the hardest work I've done, because you do 2 shows a night, every night, with no nights off in Vegas and Tahoe and those places. Can
we talk about that for a minute, about doing the 2 shows? And I don't know how much we should talk about it, but we were talking before we went on this morning. That's kind of a sore point among some performers around the country, is it?
Oh, most, I think. And it's something that's got to be resolved, because, see, the bad side of it is that we'll have to clear up what we're talking about. In Vegas and Tahoe and places like that, I think it warrants doing 2 shows, because there's a lot of people and they're there to have fun and be entertained. They're not at their homes. They're there to just stay up all night and gamble and so forth. So they're, you know, you never have problems with people coming in. Now, in all the other places that I played, like Toronto, you know, and Florida and Arizona and here, San Francisco, those places, those are people basically that are at home, and they're not going to go to a second show. The only people you're going to get are people that just wander in that happen to be at the hotel for convention or something, and usually they want to get to bed early. So the sore point among performers is, why do the hotels make you do a second late-night show? Their attitude is, hey, we've paid for the time, just get out there and do it, which seems a little harsh.
And it's tough for a performer to perform for a very small...
For 5, 6, 12 people, it's very difficult, particularly if you have a dancing act where you have 2 guys, you have to expend a lot of energy, you need the feedback. If you're just sitting there sort of in reverie doing ballads, it might be a little different. Even that's hard. It's demoralizing. And the point is, I don't understand why they don't understand. If they gave people one choice, a 9 o'clock show, they'd get a fuller house for that show than if they...
Would performers be willing to take...
Less money?
Less money.
I think so. And the problem, see, that's happening is a lot of my friends like John Davidson and people like that who do nightclubs, who would love to come to these places, are now just starting to refuse to come. Because they say, who needs it? You know, I really don't want to go and put my head through that, and, you know, I would just rather stay in Vegas and Tahoe and those places. So they're losing out on a lot of really good acts. This is my first year of doing this, so I'm doing everything I can just to... I wouldn't do it again, to be honest with you.
You don't
There's no
like
incentive.
The second show.
I don't mind a second show if there are going to be people there. And the problem is then you either have to do one of 2 things. You have to eliminate the second show, because most of the people that do these clubs are not giant superstars. Even they don't do incredible business second show, you know. But if you're not going to get rid of the second show, then you have to create an incentive to bring people in. You have to lower that steep, you know, cover charge.
So what's the mentality of the hotels and the places to keep doing this?
I think it's just like a 24-hour coffee shop. It's a service that they offer to their hotel, and they say, you know, that's what we're going to do. I think it will change, though, because, first of all, the people here have been very cooperative, and they're very bright. They know that there's a problem. I don't think they're sure yet how to solve it. I know, living here in Dallas, I wouldn't get up and go to a show probably at 11 at night, unless maybe it were cheaper, or unless it were, I don't know, something that made me, you know.
Which leads us to the point you were telling me earlier, and you have a special thing in your late show.
They did, that's what I meant about them being cooperative. They're trying to solve the problem. Everything takes time to correct, you know. They have agreed to do Monday through Thursday, the late night show, a student rate of $8, which I think is great, because you can't even get into a movie for much less than $5. So they're taking steps to correct it. I give them credit.
Have you played Vegas with your nightclub, or did you begin there?
Yeah, I've been to Vegas about 5 times this year. We're going back, as I said, the Monday after this. Yeah.
Is that? What? Do you like that? You like?
Yes.
I mean, they're, as you say, they're there to be entertained.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And they know what to expect.
Actually, if the truth, that's the other sad thing. The truth is I prefer doing a room like this, like the Fairmont, or because they're small and they're intimate. I really like that.
See the faces.
Sure. And they're very responsive. The audiences here have been wonderful. I'm having the best time. Even, like, one night we did the show for 12 people, and I said, if you were breeding here, we had like 150, this would be, you know.
Do people that you knew here and over in Tyler, the first time that you really had some national exposure and you came back home, did they treat you differently?
Not really. No.
I mean, isn't it a little bit awkward for everybody, though? They don't know, you know, has Sandy changed now that she's a star?
Yeah.
They don't know what to expect. Do you feel totally comfortable around the same people that you always do?
Yeah, completely. I've had no problem with that. Really, Texans are very extroverted, as you know, which I think is a great quality. And they don't put up with nonsense from people. If you get up on a high horse and have a bit, it's to heck with you. You know, they just don't put up with it. So I've had no problems that way. You just be yourself and they'll respond.
I don't want to put a damper on the interview, but I'm curious to know how you have adapted since you lost sight in one of your eyes. Do you mind me asking that?
No, not at all. Most people do, because it's, you know, let's face it, it's serious, and it could really have kind of ruined not only my career, but I guess psychologically, if I let it get to me, it could have ruined a lot of other aspects of my life.
How did you handle that? Because I can't even imagine.
I handled it the best way I could at the time, which was maybe a little immature. I really treated it in my head just as a self-defense thing, like a common cold. I mean, you know, I'd treat it with no more seriousness than that, because I had to keep a lot of humor about it, and just to get through the incident. I'm just now beginning to realize the seriousness of that episode. And as far as losing the vision, it's affected me minimally. It's a certain adjustment in dancing, obviously, because of the depth perception thing.
Sure. And
turning, I have to compensate for that. But it's been really no problem.
It's been an inspiration. I mean, the way you handled it, as far as most of us saw, I think, that you continued on. And
yeah, you just have to.
What would you like to do that you have not done? I mean, obviously you'd had the nightclub in the background for a while, and now you're...
Yeah. Well, the Peter Pan thing is kind of a re-entry to theater and Broadway. I like to create my own role in a Broadway musical. I've never done that. I've only done things that someone else did. Yeah. I'd like to do that. I'd like to do a play in New York. Eventually, I think it will come as I get older. I'd like to do some good film work. Basically, my goal now is just to do good work, you know, pick and choose.
Do you like the dramatic? I mean, the thing in Roots was...
I do.
Would you like to do some more of that?
Yeah, I'd like to. I don't know. It's like very often when people are interviewing, they'll say, well, you must be terribly frustrated that you don't get those heavy, dramatic parts. And the other day I just had a hot flash about that. I thought, do they ask Robert De Niro if he wants to tap dance? I mean, really, it takes as much discipline and training. And so I'd like to do all of that, but I'm not going to kill myself if I don't. You know, you have to figure out what you do best and do it.
You seem to do it all. And I don't want to just sit here and compliment you because we're here, but you seem to do it all so well. Do you have a favorite form of expression? I mean, you started as a dancer. Is your heart still there, or is it really?
Yeah, I don't know if my body's going to be there too much longer, though. I must say every year it gets a little harder.
A little tougher.
Yeah, yeah.
How will you physically prepare for the Peter Pan thing? I mean, do you have a break in there somewhere where you...
Which is scaring me a little bit, because the stamina required to get through 3 weeks in Vegas, I mean, which is like a sentence there, as I said, no days off, none, and to go right from that with 2 days in between into rehearsal for Peter Pan. I'm either going to be in terrific shape, or they're going to have to...
Or a wreck.
Yeah, right.
I bet you'll be in terrific shape. Okay, I want to take a final break here, and we'll be back with one more word with Sandy Duncan. Please stay with us.
Just one?
Just one. Just one word.
One word.
one standard question that you always get that I haven't gotten around to. To a young girl who is 14, 15, wanting to pursue something that you have done, what advice do you give them? I mean, is there any, don't do it?
No.
Any concrete?
Concrete? That's what's so hard about it, your own personal experience. I know one word. Yes. No, I think that you
that
have
was
to,
the one word I was.
I think you have to train. You really cannot get there and stay there on looks, that's for sure. You have to really train and get as much work as you can before you head out for New York or LA or wherever, because the competition's steep. And then you have to just believe in yourself, period. That's real important.
Make a lot of auditions.
Yeah.
Cattle calls, they call them.
Yeah. It's fun, but it's hard work. And it's lonely sometimes. Well, what isn't, you know? People make show business this mysterious, ooh, because that's artsy-crafty, right? It's like most any business. My father has the same problems running his gas station, I think.
Do people react differently to him at his gasoline station since his daughter?
Well, if a man rushed out to your car with a picture in bubble gum, would you react a little differently? You must have this picture of my daughter. No, he doesn't do that.
While you're filling up the gas. Sandy, it's been a pleasure having you here,
Yeah,
and I've been looking forward to meeting you.
Finally meet you.
Have a good run here for the rest of the week in Dallas. You'll be there through Saturday night at the Venetian Room at the
Right.
Fairmont Hotel, and we'll look for you back in June.
That's right. I'll be back in a minute.
Just in a minute. Sandy Duncan, my special guest. Thanks to all of you. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow at 9.